Welcome, race fans, and tonight the Relentless Racing Javit PC Xfinity Series is taking it to Watkins, Glen. We're going to be turning a little bit of left, a little bit of right, and like that song said, it's going to be all right now. We're going to be joining me tonight in the booth. It's going to be, as always, is Tony Frey and Bobby Rafferty. Don't think they've worked their way in here yet. It's a long walk from the concession stand up to the broadcast booth, so they'll be up here shortly. But first race, round of 12. This guy's got Watkins Glen, Kansas. Somebody is going to be going home into the round of 8. Ed Morris, Brandon Schaefer, Davey Hendricks, Brandon Banks, Brendan Parks, Greg Rogers, William Regan, Michael Newbrough, Joseph Maines, Cody Riggs, Dakota Orndorff, and Cedric Broswell. They are the ones to be keeping an eye on tonight, as they are your 12 still playoff contention. You can see right now we've got about 8 minutes left in practice. Pretty sure Tony's going to be joining me here soon. We'll just make him. We'll make him join us a little bit early. Tony, it's a long walk at concession stand. Glad you finally made it.
Oh yeah, I made her.
Well, these guys are turning left and right tonight. Think that's going to be a challenge for some of these guys?
I do. You know, we do have a few guys that are very good at road courses, but a lot of these guys are not road course guys. And this is one of the easier, in my opinion, easier road courses. But this track is slick in these cars, so I think we're gonna see some people making some mistakes. I personally will be watching the S's tonight because it seems like there's a lot of people losing it there.
Yeah, anywhere on that track's bad for me. I don't do road courses. I just don't. It's not me. And I ain't got it in me.
I enjoy road course racing. I will never be the fastest road course guy, but I'll be top 5, top 10. And I've looped it a few times here. Granted, I don't really drive this car much, but it's definitely a little slick out here.
Well, we're down to the 12. They've got Watkins Glen in Kansas to fight it out. Who's the surprise driver that's made it to the round of 12?
Um, well, I mean, I think you got to say right at that cutoff line, you know, Cody Riggs had an up and down season, but you know, able to secure that last spot and advance to the round of 12.
One that's got me shocked really is it's gonna be Greg Rogers. I know
Uh,
a lot of people may not want to hear that, but
I really expect Greg to be one of the cars to beat tonight. I've seen him throughout the week running practice here, and he's fast. The last road course race these guys did, he was right there in contention until he made one little mistake on pit road, cost him basically the race. I think we'll see him up front pretty much all night.
speaking since he ain't out there, let's see if he learned a lesson or something. Greg, it's Jeremy and Tony up there in the booth. You got a copy? Greg Rogers, report to your headset. Oh, may have caught him off guard. Well, maybe he learned his lesson from last time he was here at this race.
Yeah, and the last time, the last road course, you know, he basically passed the pace car going to pit road. Two guys actually did, and it was kind of one of those deals where it was shorter distance around. Um, so I definitely think he learned his lesson there. Once you go, you know, towards the back or have to do a pass through penalty at a road course, it ruins your whole race unless you do it before the stage break. Um, that will be the only caution tonight, unless the entire course is blocked. So if you're going to make a mistake, make it early and be clean after the stage break, and you should be all right.
Yeah, if you're gonna screw up, do it at the start, not towards the end.
Yep, that's definitely words of wisdom here.
We've got about 4 minutes for qualifying is over. Let's see if we can. Everybody's pretty much fresh on points. Nobody's locked into the eight.
Well, and that's another topic of discussion there. You know, like I said earlier, a lot of these guys are not road course racers, but if they find themselves in a hole because of this road course, then they're going to be trying to dig themselves out at next week's race in Kansas. So I think the goal for a lot of these guys is to just stay on track, finish the race. You know, a lot of these guys, let's be real, they're not going to be able to win this race. There's a select few that are road course guys in this series. The rest of these guys are just going to be trying to not hurt themselves too bad for the next race.
Yeah, it's pretty much the top four. I mean, a whole season. It's been that battle between North South and Drinking Bros Racing, and I don't expect anything different going through the playoffs, especially here at Watkins Glens and then at Kansas.
Yeah, I think this is that wild card where, you know, I know like Davey Hendricks, he's really good at road courses. Ed, I don't recall Ed Morris Jr. I don't recall if he's a road course guy or not, but I do know that the Drinking Bros guys, they're don't believe that they're a big fan of road courses. So we may not see them up there competing, and we may see some other drivers up there like that, like Greg Rogers, like, you know, we got a bunch of our Canadian guys in here. They're typically really good at road courses.
Yeah,
So we may see some different front runners tonight. You know, Brandon Park won the last road course.
you're talking about our friends up north. One of them's he's in the playoffs, and this may be his track to lock him into the round of eight.
Very possible.
And I mean, the seasons he's had, he's no wins. Only two top fives and five top tens, but he's put himself in the position to be in the playoffs, so he's one step closer to that championship run.
Yep, and I think a lot of tonight's race is really going to shake up um, the round of eight. You know, or going to the round of eight, just because of that fact that this is one of those wild card races that, you know, your oval, a lot of your oval guys are not going to be, you know, up at the front tonight.
A lot of them are just going to try to be in survival mode.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Stay on track all night and you'll probably end up with a top 10. You make a mistake and you're going to fall back. You don't have to be fast at a road course to get a top 10. You
Nope.
just need to be consistent.
And along with consistency, that's something that Bobby always says: patience, patience, patience. Especially here at road courses, that first turn, there's going to be a lot of patience.
Oh, absolutely. The S's, I think you're going to see a lot of patience there. I don't expect anybody to try and go in there side by side. I think you got to pick and choose your passing areas and set yourself up to make that pass. I think turn one is going to be one of those passing areas, just because a lot of people will miss that corner. They'll come in a little wide or overshoot it a little bit. That's a perfect opportunity to stick that nose to the inside and make that pass. The back, you know, the last two corners, turn 10 and 11, are great passing opportunities. Bus stop, you can make that pass, but you're putting yourself in a bad spot. And then the carousel, that long sweeping right hand corner, it's sketchy out there. You try to put the power down too early, and you're going to spin that car out.
It's going to be wild. I mean, this is pretty much anybody's race. Since they fixing this qualifying, we're gonna go a little bit of some of these guys that help pay the bill with Cutscene and Whiplash, and we'll be right back.
Been the first thing that's really worked for me to put me to sleep.
Helps relax me when I'm trying to go to bed.
All just really spectacular.
It also helps you put yourself into a routine.
I feel like I'm drinking lemonade.
You guys give it a shot.
It works! It works! It's good!
Just try it.
Well, it's qualifying start, and this is going to be a wild one. And Bobby's made it up from the concession stand. Finally, I'm pretty sure he got him some of those Philadelphia hot dogs.
Philadelphia hot dogs. We're in upstate New York, son. This is my backyard. And yes, the concession stand is killer around here. Especially the one right behind the pit lane grandstand. There's a concession stand back there that's really good.
Well, I'm pretty sure your Steelers are doing pretty good tonight. You're a Steelers fan, correct?
No, unfortunately, New York Jets fan.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, a New York Jets fan, but I will die on that hill till the day I die.
Well, you may have a few dying on the hills and turns throughout this race tonight.
Yeah, I went out there and messed around a tiny bit in 113-degree track temp. With a pretty wicked wind out there. We're sitting around 18, 19 mile an hour winds from the west. It's very difficult out there right now. There's not a lot of grip.
Yeah, she's definitely sliding around a bit out there. I'd be curious to see who can put down a fast time in qualifying to get out to the front. I mean, track position is going to be big here, especially early on.
Absolutely, but I mean, with any road race, Tony, you know this as well as I do. All-out speed definitely is a factor, but at the same point, keeping all four tires on the track can definitely make up for all-out speed over the course of a 50-lap race here.
Oh, absolutely.
As of right now, looks like Davey, who's been doing quite a bit of practice with us this week, has put down a 13.3, a full second faster than P2 Brandon Park with a 14.3.
Yeah, I will say that is a pretty fast time.
It's an extremely fast time. I think that actually might beat my track record here from last season. I'm going to go back and double check now.
Well, I know you got a few drivers you're watching tonight. You got a few that's made it into the playoffs. As far as any advice you'd given them, and me and Tony kind of took your word to preach the patience part already. But you're saying the track temp's hot, winds gusty. That's going to make the car fight. Anything you give them, advise?
Egg under the right foot. Be very smooth on your inputs. Especially on your throttle. Don't spin the rear tires up. Do not overdrive it. If anything, as the track gets hotter and hotter, you need to back your corners up more and more and more to keep the tires on it again, like I said, and also just in general to keep the car clean and get it to that end of the race, because with how hot the track is and as the tires wear off, if you try to continue to keep your braking points at the same point, you're just going to go flying off the track.
And along with that, what Bobby said, I would even go a little bit further and say be conservative through the S's and through the carousel, because that's where I am seeing a lot of people make the mistakes.
Yeah, I'm especially waiting to see what kind of mistakes are going to be made on turn one because we've always got something happening there.
Oh, I think you're going to see a lot of people either spin out or overshoot turn one, but I think they'll be pretty conservative on this first lap. That's kind of the norm. Just kind of stay in line, get rolling, and then as they start, getting a little gap in between cars, then you start pushing for track position.
So, just looking through here, the track record was actually set 2 seasons ago, and it was Joshua Banks at a 112.942. Last season, I was able to run a 113.397, so Davey did not get the overall track record here, but he beat my time from last year and only about 4 tenths off of Josh's absolute flyer of a lap 2 seasons ago.
And I will say, if I remember correctly, 2 seasons ago was the old scam, which had that little grip strip in, what was that, turn? I think it had it in turn 2.
Yes. So I guess technically we can say new track record for this scan, and me and Davey both in the Toyota Supra, so he has dethroned me. Well done to him.
Well, we can just wrap it up too and say, of active drivers.
Yeah, we could do that as well.
Amongst active drivers.
But with a rescan also, that definitely does make a huge difference.
Yeah, there used to be a real dark strip of asphalt in a couple of corners, and if you could get your right side tires on there, it would just give you a lot of drive off the corner. They took that away, which slowed down the lap times a little bit. And for some reason, I'm remembering turn 2 and turn 10 having that what I call the grip strip, that new asphalt.
What do they call that stuff in real life that they put on the tracks to help bring the other grooves in? Is it VHT or
EJ1?
EJ1. VHT is what I'm thinking on the drag racing side of things.
Yep.
For the sticky stickies.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again, Bobby, for the what?
I'm leaving it alone. It's too early to get spicy.
Let's get that clip. Somebody out there get a clip of that.
It's sticky.
There we go.
All the sticky.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left of qualifying. I don't think we're going to see the top 4 or 5 change. I think we're going to see a lot of people kind of just rolling around the back, and it seems like it's kind of a light field tonight. Not as many cars as we normally see out here, but that tends to be the norm with road courses. People kind of just don't like road courses, so they would prefer not to race them.
So Josh is gonna kill me for doing this, but I got to do this for the chat out there. Somebody give me what's the Vegas odds here on Josh Van Gore actually gets to finish a race tonight? What's the over under we got going on here?
I'm not saying nothing. I've been responsible for a few people that don't make the playoffs, so I'm just gonna keep my opinion shut. But it's like me and Tony said. You've got some drivers that they didn't have flashy seasons, but they had consistent seasons, and that's put them in a spot to be where they're at in the round of 12.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's what it takes, to the way this playoff format is in NASCAR now. You don't have to have that flashy season and get a whole bunch of wins. You just have to be consistent throughout the year, and you're going to make it into the playoffs. Now, once you get into the playoffs, that's the time where you really have to perform, but to get there, as long as you're consistent, you can pretty much guarantee yourself a spot in that playoff.
And you know, if they get through the round of 12, you're gonna have 8 drivers, and the track selection for this one kind of threw a lot of people for a loop. But taking it to my home state up at the fairgrounds in Nashville, that's where it's going to be wild at.
Yeah, short tracks always add a little different element to the playoffs. I mean, you're kind of at it's kind of like a super speedway where somebody else makes a mistake, it can ruin your whole night. So definitely going to be a race where you gotta be conservative, watch out for everybody else, but you still gotta have a good run to set yourself up for advancement.
And you know, Nashville, it is a short track, but it's like a midget short track. I mean, you get 28, 30 cars there, and leader's going to be nearly seeing last place car before they even get going. So,
Well, and the character of that track, right? There is a lot of bumps there. If you get hit the bumps wrong and get sideways, you potentially could take out a lot of cars. Um, so it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I'll be curious to see how that race goes. But it should make for some good racing.
oh, it's going to make some real spicy racing, especially turn 2, that bump there. That's a
Oh yeah.
make or break anybody. Well, it's settled in, and you got Hendricks on point with Rogers. Right there in P2, then Brandon Schaefer, Emmanuel for Jay, Ed Morris, Brandon Park, Jordan Miles, Brandon Banks, Dakota Orndorff, Cody Riggs, Drew Holman, Gary Sack, William Regan, Cedric Broswell, Vincent Vaughn, Josh Fangor, Ed Morris, Joey Maines, Michael Newbraw, and Ricky Williams. So a lot of your playoff drivers are up towards the front.
Yeah, and with a 20 car field, I don't think you have to push too hard if you're not one of those road course aces. Because even if you finish last, the guys who didn't show up are going to get less points. And with a 20 car field, it's not going to be as detrimental as, say, like a 30 car field would be. If you wreck out, you're going to finish 20th versus 30th. Short grade lap, but we're going to be going green in just a couple seconds.
Yeah, I think this right here is where it's fixing to get wild.
Smooth restart. Emmanuel's looking at... Oh, Brandon Schaefer's going to check up. They're 3 wide into turn 1. That is a risky move. Emmanuel just put everybody kind of on notice there. He's not going to be conservative this race, just judging by his entry to turn 1, pushing it 3 wide.
And I believe the words out of your mouth earlier, Tony, was you'll see him be patient in turn 1 and won't see no 3 wide.
Everybody else was patient except for Emmanuel. But he also has nothing to lose, right? He's not in the playoffs. He's checkers or wreckers, I think, at this point.
If he wins, that makes the other 12 drivers have to fight their way in.
Yeah, and that move, I think, was probably going to upset some of these guys up in the front. These guys are racing for playoff, and he put everybody, Greg Rogers, just kind of put them in a bad position there. So kind of you're not going to make any friends doing that. Let's put it that way.
No, I'm sure there was. I missed it because I have Reshat muted, but I did see one person mic up, and if I know them well enough, I'm sure there was. We'll call them some pleasantries exchanged at that certain point in time, and can't say I blame them.
Yeah, that's a risky move. Just, I don't know. That's not a move I would make. Let's just say that.
Unnecessarily risky this early in the race, but like you also said, just to touch on it again, he really doesn't have anything to lose at this point with him not being in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
in
and
his
everybody
mind, I'm
else
sure
around him does, so they
everybody else
forces them to
exactly.
lift.
Exactly.
I'll tell you who's sliding that car all around is that '07 Ed Morris Jr. I'm watching him. That back end is getting wider and wider.
And when you lose the rear tires in these Xfinity cars, they do not come back. This car, from running it all season last year, I learned very quickly as we actually see Greg Rogers moving by. It looked like Ed just let him have the spot there. Once you lose those rear tires, they don't come back. They don't cool off enough where you get that grip back. So I think you're going to see Ed back off here a little bit and try to cool him as much as possible. But I think he's going to be hurting a little bit for the rest of this run up until we get to the stage.
Yeah, I'm seeing William Reagan was given an EOL. I assume he's probably having connection issues again, like we saw last week. That may be why. Yep, I see him disappearing. Looks like we may have had a little issue on lap 1 with Ricky Williams.
Yeah, Williams' rear end just looped around and he's fell back a little bit.
Going back to see if he got into the barrier or not, and it looks like he did a great job of actually saving it and keeping it out of the barrier. But yeah, that's no bueno for him.
Well, he just disconnected. I think he had enough fun.
Come on, only 3 laps in, we have not had nearly enough fun.
It's showing he wrecked again, maybe, and then he just towed.
I think that's possibly what happened.
Go back and look and see what happened that second time. Oh yeah, he looped it again. Turn 1.
Ooh, a little stack up right there coming through the start finish. Briggs, Broswell, Holman, and Orndorff.
Too wide into turn 1 with Dakota and Drew Holman.
These guys here are putting up a battle.
And that's right around that P12 spot.
And poor Josh is sitting back there going, please don't wreck, please don't wreck. Please just let me finish.
I'm not saying his name, so you're responsible for it, Bobby.
That's fine.
They're making a move on Cody Riggs for position there.
He got
you
it.
Notice there, he definitely got it, but you notice there when he tried to put that throttle down, as we've got Dakota looking under Cody also here, driving it incomplete in the pass. But as Cedric tried to put the power down low coming out of the carousel there, he had a major moment where he spun those rear tires up and almost looped it. So this is what I was talking about earlier about keeping those rear tires cool so you can maintain some forward grip and some forward bite.
Well, and with that, with as greasy as this track is, you know, if you get offline to try to make a pass, it's going to upset that car in the next corner. And that's probably what you saw there.
Absolutely.
Took a different line and couldn't get off the corner straight as he wanted to, and with those rear tires up.
Oh, Barkley coming in with the biddies, starting it early.
Oh, man.
It's looking like everything's starting to kind of simmer down. I mean, about the only thing we're seeing is Miles seems to be under pressure from Park right now.
Well, and it's still pretty tight back here on the 12th position. Drew Holman, Cody Riggs. I believe that's Cedric in front of them. Josh Bangor sitting right behind them. They're not racing for position yet, but they're pretty tight. One person makes a mistake, the other guys are going to be able to capitalize on it.
The nice thing for Cody is he's got 2 teammates right behind him. I don't think he's going to see much pressure, undue pressure from behind him for right now.
I'll
As
tell you what.
Cedric went way off track there. He might end up with a slowdown being that far off
Yeah,
track.
he does have one. That is actually, I think he may end up getting DQ'd because he did that the lap before as well. And if he doesn't give that time up within, I believe it's like 30 seconds, it
30
will
seconds.
DQ
Yep.
you.
Yes, it will.
Looks like he gave the time back somehow because it's no longer showing. But yeah, you get really wide off of turn one there, it will give you a slowdown penalty.
Which is kind of funny too. We were talking about this in one of the practice sessions. In IRL, you see the Cup guys and Xfinity guys and Truck guys use all of that runoff area there.
Very true. However, if you remember the old scan, all that was grass.
Yes, that is very true.
So it may be just an iRacing thing where they haven't, quite caught up to that. Same with that runoff off of turn 10. If I remember correctly, that was all grass as well. And if you get too wide off of turn 10, it will give you that slowdown penalty as well.
And honestly, I do like that because you have, if you, especially off of turn one there, going up to the S's, if you allow that much runoff, you have one heck of a merge point there.
Absolutely.
Where you got a guy coming with probably a good 7-8 mile an hour more speed to your left side, and you don't even realize he's there. And you're gonna have, as Mr. Barkley would say, you got a mega cram there, Mister.
Yeah, it kind of funnels down, and if you're not expecting that car on the outside, that went really wide into turn one, and you run up the track to enter that next corner, there's nowhere for either of you to go, and you're going to end up coming together. I definitely don't. Well, and not only that, it forces people to drive a tighter line, right? They got to hit turn one right to prevent that. Yes, it slows it down a little bit, but it also makes for better racing, in my opinion.
I can't argue with that whatsoever.
We've been looking throughout the back of the field, but Emmanuel's he's pretty still close within striking distance of Davey.
Big moment for Josh Van Gore coming off of turn one. Got that car sideways. Brandon Banks was right on his bumper. Brandon checked up to not wreck Josh, but that was a pretty big moment there.
I'm pretty sure Van Gore just wants to see the checkered flag.
If
Yeah.
Van Gore sees the checkered flag, we're buying drinks at the bar.
I see you in 12 hours. Josh, don't let me down.
Brandon Park got around Ed Moore for sixth position.
And remember, Brandon's also one heck of a road racer. This race is kind of playing out the way that Indy did. He kind of ran around, I would say between 8th and 4th place in Indianapolis earlier this season, the entire race, and was able to come away with a victory when it counted.
Yeah,
so,
we were talking about that earlier when Greg Rogers and I don't remember who was in the second spot when they both made their mistake and got that black flag. And then it was the Davey and Brandon Park battle, and Brandon won that battle.
He did. That was a very, very happy car owner that night. But Brandon, like I said, he's a very good road racer. I wouldn't say he's got that all-out insane raw pace, but he is just deadly consistent and is very good at conserving his stuff on a road course. So be interesting to see how it plays out. He's currently sitting, we'll call it 13 seconds back from Davey, but we also have the stage break coming up. So that will bunch the field back up again, and we'll go from there.
Regan off the track, he's going to lose a few positions.
Yeah, he's still blinking, so that may be part of that.
Somebody help poor William out with his internet.
Last couple weeks, he's been struggling with internet issues, so hopefully he can get that situated.
Yeah, I hate saying that for anybody, especially you've had a good season. And then you get into the playoffs, and everything just seems to go to crap.
So another driver I want to bring up is Brandon Schaefer. If I remember correctly, in his interview last week, he said he wasn't that great of a road racer and just wanted to survive. Running in a solid fourth place right now. You know, gonna even if he ends up finishing here, very good points night for him and some momentum going into next week. So great run for him so far as well.
And if I remember correctly, we did see him run up front at the Indy Road Course.
Yes, we did.
And then I don't recall what happened there, but he ended up falling back a little bit. But um, he may not, claim to be the road course guy, but he's always running up front at these road courses from what I've seen. In top 5 or so.
And if I remember correctly, Brandon was actually way out front at Indy at the initial start, but ended up burning his stuff up a little bit because Indy was even hotter than this is today.
I think you're right. I
I
remember
think I think somebody went out there with remember that slime stuff we had when we were kids? I think somebody got a couple tractor trailer loads of that and put it all over the racing line. Because when I went out and made practice laps, I was like, I am so glad I'm not running this race.
The field, it's pretty much settled down. Everybody's seems like they found their spot on the track. But the closest battle right now is Gary Sack and Dakota Wundoff.
I'd be curious to go back and see what happened to Brandon Banks because it's showing him as dropping 5 spots. I don't recall where he started.
Not sure. He's looking to make a pass, though, right now on Cody Riggs in the last corner. They're side by side. 2 playoff drivers. So I don't think Cody's just going to move over for him.
Well, and Cody kind of had the line there with that higher line does give you a little better drive off where that inner line wants to spin the tires. So, but I think Brandon's going to be able to make this pass going up in the S's. I think Cody will do the smart thing and just lift and let him have it. You don't want to go side by side through there.
And that was a very, very brave move. And you should see the amount of respect that the 2 drivers have there. Cody missed the corner a little bit, and Brandon filled probably, I would say, about a half a hole there. I wouldn't give it a full car length, but was able to get it woed down in time, and Cody gave him the room. So great heads-up driving by both of these guys to realize, we're only 12 laps into a 50-lap race with a lap time of, what were we saying, about a minute something, correct? If I remember correctly here? Yeah, minute 15 we're lapping at right now. So a long, long race still ahead of us.
Yeah, we should be coming up to the stage here pretty quick. I believe the stage is at lap 15. So that'll give these guys an opportunity to get fresh tires on it. Settle down. They know what they got. They know where they're strong. They know where they're making mistakes at. Little time to catch their breath and refocus.
Absolutely, and you are correct. The stage is at 15.
Which, if memory serves, these guys will have to make a green flag stop. I don't believe they can go 35 laps on fuel.
I would say I'd jump in the car and check, but it lied to us last week. Big
Right.
iRacing was a lie last week. You could make it 30, you could make it 50. Which one is it?
Yeah, I feel like that's way too high of a number. These guys run 60% fuel, which should put them somewhere around 20, 22 laps would be my guess.
I'm thinking
Drew Hallman goes way wide to avoid the 30 car, and I'm not sure what happened there.
Drew's another one of those guys that has literally nothing to lose here. He's missed quite a few races, unfortunately, because of real life commitments and just out here to have some fun.
Yeah, I think he was probably going to get back into the back end of that 30 car, so he just went wide to avoid him and gave up quite a bit of time doing that, but didn't end up wrecking anybody.
As we're flapping our gums here, the battle for the lead is starting to heat up. Emmanuel has caught Davey, who's now only about 3/10 away. You guys see it on your screen, about a car length, as Emmanuel takes the dive here going into the last corner. He is really pushing to get this stage win.
If that car hadn't have broke, I think he might have had a little bit more for Davey going into that last turn.
I think you're right, but Davey with the stage win here.
Yep, should be throwing the caution here pretty quick as soon as the 7th place car crosses the line. And there's our caution.
Ed Morris wraps it up, getting him the last set of stage points.
I know all the drivers in the Xfinity series are going to hate me for saying this, but a lot less spicy than I anticipated it with the track temperature to that, or so far, especially that initial start.
I would say give it a bit. Now they know what they can do and what they can't do, so I think this last section of the race is going to be a little spicier, at least early on, until they get stretched out.
Yeah, especially stretching it, 35 laps?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go talk to the guys on my team and see how much fuel estimate they have, so we can get a little bit of a better idea of what we're looking at.
While you're doing that, we're gonna get to shout out some of these sponsors.
It's been the first thing that's really worked for me to put me to sleep.
Helps relax me when I'm trying to go to bed.
All just really spectacular.
It also helps you put yourself into a routine.
I feel like I'm drinking lemonade. You guys give it a shot.
It works! It works! It's good!
Just try it.
Well, Tony, I think it's going to be a little bit closer these last 35 than the first 15 was.
Yeah, I think right now everybody's just trying to catch that pace car. We see some guys hustling to try and get caught up so they can go into pit road equal with these guys. But
As for our fuel window, we are looking between 22 to 23 laps is what we're looking. So definitely going to have to make that pit stop. There is no way, and I mean no way, you're going to stretch it.
yeah, I think we're going to see everybody kind of split that stage up. We are seeing quite a bit of fall off on time, and I do know that these tires go away pretty quick if you abuse them. So I imagine we'll see somewhere right down the middle, somewhere around, lap 20,
26, 27.
I think we'll see it a little later, like 32 maybe.
Yeah, that's about what I'm thinking, because everybody's pitting theoretically now on lap 17. Probably will not go green until, I'm gonna say, we're either going to be coming in 19 or 20 is when we're going to be getting the green flag back. So you're looking 30 laps. So I would be going 15 laps from there. So possibly even 35.
Yeah, I think we'll see that window somewhere like 32 to 37. That's kind of where I think, if you're out front, you may hold off a little bit. If you're towards the back, you're going to come on the early side of that window. But I think that's what we're going to see.
Just wondering if we're going to see Emmanuel try to get that jump, especially since he ain't got to fight through nobody now. He's side by side with Hendricks.
Well, and that's something that I'm not sure of is if Watkins Glen does have that restart zone. Because Davey Hendricks has the lead, so he would control that restart. If that restart zone is there, that's going to give him a huge advantage into turn one to prevent Emmanuel from doing anything too crazy.
If I remember correctly, I do not believe Watkins Glen has a restart zone.
Yeah, I think we will find out here pretty quick. I would think, being that it's a NASCAR track, NASCAR does come there. I would think they would have the restart zone, but I don't know.
I cannot for the life of me remember if we have it or not. I'm looking on the wall here to see if I'm seeing any Geico banners, but I do not see them. Oh, yes, we do. There is a restart zone. I just saw it off to the right-hand side.
Yep, on that inside wall between the track and pit road. I see it as well. So that, you got to think, is going to give advantage to Davey Hendricks into turn one.
100%.
As long as he doesn't overshoot it, he should retain the lead in theory. And Emmanuel will have to pass him, later on. He's not going to be able to make that move in turn one of the restart.
Not to be the burden of bad news, but race control is in chat saying there's no restart zone wasn't an option.
Oh, interesting.
So now it's going to get very interesting. How aggressive is Emmanuel going to get around the outside there?
Well, and it's Emmanuel. We saw him push it 3 wide on the first turn, so he may get pretty aggressive. And Davey, with his situation in the playoffs, maybe he's got a lift for that and let Emmanuel make it.
Let him go. It ain't worth it, son. Let him go.
You've also got one up there that said he's in survival, and we know he's not scared to throw it over his shoulder and go. Brandon, he'll push.
Absolutely.
He'll squeeze Emmanuel as far as he can.
And then you have Greg Rogers, Jordan Miles, and Brandon Park sitting back there licking their lips going, you guys go ahead and fight. Y'all have fun.
Well, and it almost, this is probably not the thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. What does Davey do here? Does he go wide to force Emmanuel out a little wider to get that slowdown penalty? I mean,
I
he
don't
could.
think he could, but I don't see Davey doing that. I've run with Davey, not a ton, but I've run with him enough to know that Davey will run you very hard, but he'll give you the room.
But I will say that I bet those other 2 drivers behind Emmanuel, after that move he pulled at the start of the race, maybe not be that courteous.
Yeah, no, they are not going to be very happy. And green flag is out. Pretty even start.
Yeah, Davey got a little bit of a jump, and that's going to put Emmanuel outside. We'll see how Davey got through the corner really good. Emmanuel's kind of got that run, though, on that higher lane, but Davey's got position going into the S's.
Emmanuel's going to force that issue, and oh, man, what a save. Davey almost died, and Davey
He
is
hit
in
the wall. I bet you Davey is fuming right now.
Davey, this is a PG show, ladies and gentlemen, but, yeah. I'm sure there are some explicitives from the professor right now. if I'm in Davy's shoes, I know I'm faster than Brandon. I saw that in the first run. I'm going to settle back in, take my time, pick my spot, and get back around Brandon and let Emmanuel run out there and burn his stuff up.
But we did see Emmanuel close the gap on Davy earlier, so how patient can Davy be here?
Well, we still have another pit stop here, and I
That is
think
true.
with
That is true.
with as aggressive as Emmanuel's being, Emmanuel's going to do one of two things. He's going to manage the pace, which would be the right thing to do, or he's going to push like hell to try to get that gap. But again, with how warm it is, track temperature wise, you can really punish your car as you see Brandon getting all types of squirrely still on the gas. I bet you we'll see a move here from Davy.
And with that being said, Davy can overcome that gap by pitting a lap or two earlier than Emmanuel.
Absolutely, and it actually looks like Brandon actually pulled over and let Davy go right there.
Yeah, I think he, with his slip up there, they could have went side by side in the bus stop, but that's really not a good idea for anybody to do. It's typically not going to end very well for either driver. So the smart move, Davy's got the position, lift, let him go, and fall in behind him.
I'll tell you somebody who's doing a whole lot better than I was expecting. It's not known as driving, but just his luck, and that's Jordan Miles. He's sitting there in P5.
Yeah, I saw him passing cars earlier in the race. We see a change for P3. Greg Rogers got around Brandon Schaefer. Greg been fast all night, but I did see Davey get to that bumper of Emmanuel and kind of said, "Hey, I'm here. I know what you did."
And let's be honest here also. Greg has something to prove here because if he did not have that slip up going into pit road at Indy, I really think that was Greg's race. I don't think personally, I don't think anybody had anything for Greg at Indy. He was head and shoulders above the rest. So I think Greg is going to be looking for some redemption here at Watkins Glen.
I agree. Greg was setting the pace at Indy and then had that mistake and was not able to overcome it. Joey Maines out wide here off of turn 9, I believe that is, the carousel.
Davy's got the run down the front stretch. Emmanuel driving all the way down to that wall to try to block the move, but is going to be unsuccessful. Davy's got the inside line, and Davy is going to complete that pass.
Yep, Davey just slid up in front of him. And I'll tell you what, that allowed Greg Rogers to close that gap. Now he's right behind Manuel. He'll be looking to make a pass as soon as he has the opportunity.
Looks like Emmanuel's got the run back up the hill and going to dive it down inside.
And at that point, yeah, Davey's got to lift, right? You don't want to go in there too wide.
Who says road course race and puts on boring racing? We're having a heck of a show tonight.
Rogers is giving us the good view of it right now.
Rogers says, "You boys go ahead and battle. I'll be waiting right here when you guys decide to make a mistake."
Hendricks gives
Davey
Emmanuel
went wide. Emmanuel went wide.
Hendricks gave Emmanuel a little bump.
Yeah, I think that's a little, hey. Oh, and then Greg, and then, oh, he's just a pinball out there. That's going to give the lead over to Greg Rogers. Davey's going to go low and make the pass. Schaefer's going to give him a little bump. Allow Davey to get ahead of Emmanuel.
And you know, you've got that battle going on between that rivalry with North-South and Drinking Bros, but you saw right then Schaefer gave Hendricks enough of a push to get by Emmanuel and then break a whole lot earlier so he wouldn't be in the middle of it.
Yep, that's exactly what I saw as well.
There's definitely a rivalry there, but especially when it comes to Davey and Brandon Schaefer, they both realize that they are two of the fastest drivers in this series, and at the end of the day, they both want to make it down to that Final Four. And I think Michigan really showed both drivers, if I'm being honest, that, if we keep running each other this hard, neither one of us are going to get there. So we've seen a lot of respect from those two guys since that race. I think you're going to see fireworks at the finale, though.
And I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now is Emmanuel is sliding that car all over the place. He is struggling right now. I don't know if he heated up his tires too much or if he's just pushing really hard to try and get back to Davey, but Davey's able to get around him, and now Schaefer's going to take that low line into turn one and not going to be able to make the pass, but show his nose, show him he's there, and see what he can do later.
Well, and as we said earlier as well, I mean, Emmanuel definitely did not make many friends on that initial start, and I think we saw that receipt get checked in right there. No quarter taken.
Yeah, and Schaefer's gave up a little bit of time, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily giving it up. It's the fact of he's seeing how loose Emmanuel's car is. He don't want to be caught up in that if that thing kicks.
Well, and we did see Schaefer kind of spinning his tires earlier, so he may be just settling in, running his line to. Oh, I see some crashes.
Oh yeah, Vincent and Josh.
Oh no.
Looks like Josh towed, so it must have been a pretty bad one.
Oh yeah, he's got no front bumper right now. He's in a way.
Looks like that car just. Joey Maines shot wide.
Extremely wide.
Not sure if that's what the predecessor of that was, or
Yeah, I think they're just trying to give room for him to get back on track, and kind of took a bad entry. Josh having to tighten up that corner a little bit, and not a good spot to be in when you can't run. Oh, there it is.
yep.
All I know is I'm gonna have to buy Josh a whole lot of beer after the end of this season, and possibly a therapist. If anybody knows a good one, let me know.
And he almost got into his teammate, Cody Riggs.
Vincent went down pit road early. He's going to short pit this and see what he can gain in track position.
Oh, Vincent's done. He T-boned Bangor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
He came back out. We see Michael Newbraw crashed as well, according to SDK.
Matt, I don't know if you'd be a good psychiatrist. Oh yeah, Bangor.
Oh, yeah.
Newbraw's car just got loose.
Yeah, he kept it out of the wall, so that's good. He can continue on, but he just got on that rumple strip and upset the car.
And you know, Bobby, both of y'all have said it. You know, this may be Greg's redemption.
Yeah, Greg is got about a second and a half lead and building. From
Joey
what I'm
Maines
seeing
crashed.
Okay.
Well, and with that being said, Greg was sitting back there watching those guys abuse those tires when they were battling. So
Yep.
Greg gets out front. He's got, nice, cool, lots of grip on his tires, and
Oh, Emmanuel in the wall hard. Real hard coming off the last corner. That's going to not do very many favors for his car there.
Yeah, I think Emmanuel just pushed it too hard there at the beginning. He's paying the price now.
Absolutely.
Hendricks and Rogers pretty much checked out over a 3-second gap from Schaefer.
And I know we're supposed to be impartial as commentators, but man, no offense to the rest of the field, including my own team guys, but I think everybody would absolutely love to see Greg win. I think this would probably be one of the most popular wins league wide if Greg can pull this off.
And I'm sure some of our fans out there in the chat would like to see that as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we are approaching that window. These guys are on 10 laps into the run, give or take. Probably 8. Call it when it went green. 8 laps into the run. But I imagine in about 5 laps, we'll start seeing some people come on pit road and get some fresh tires and some fuel to run this thing out.
I think Rogers has a whole lot more fans than people acknowledge. He's kind of the he's the one everybody cheers for, but not in public.
Oh,
I
they do in public.
I was gonna say I do it in public all the time, and I am not ashamed of it. I am a huge Greg Rogers fan on and off the track. I'll give Greg his flowers right now. Greg does a lot for this league, and it's a lot of stuff that people don't realize. But you ask any of our beginner series drivers, Greg is one of the first people to welcome them. Make sure that they are having fun. Any complaints, he does his best to try to go ahead and rectify those things. Greg is an integral part of our admin team here and deserves all the praise.
Greg does a lot for this league and takes a lot off my shoulders, which allows me to get everything else done. So I really appreciate Greg as well.
Yeah, like putting up with me flipping out because of my cup season. Whoops, did I just say that? Love you, Tony.
Anybody needs a psychiatrist, be Bobby. Bobby, might need to hook you up with Matt. He's saying he's a good psychiatrist.
Well, you know,
We'll work on the temperamental phase.
Showing Newbra crashed again.
Right there on
Newbra is
turn 1.
not having a good night.
Yeah, looks like he's just struggling with that turn 1.
Turn 1 is tricky too, for the simple fact that you have to back that corner up a lot more than you think you would, because the entry to it is downhill, and even in sim you don't get the sensation of really how downhill that is. When I went to this track last year, was on the RSS pit box for Joe Graff Jr. We were down close to turn 1, and the drop off, it's like falling off of a cliff with how severe that drop off is into turn 1. It's absolutely insane.
Cedric had a big moment in the bus stop. Completely missed the entry, came in way too hot and kept it out of the wall, but gave up a lot of time.
Goose.
Cedric is actually coming into pit lane right now.
Yeah, he hurt those tires pretty bad, so it's probably not a bad idea to short pit, get that fresh set of tires on there, and come back out.
Goose coming in with that follow. Let's go. We got a manual fan out there now. The Canadians are showing up.
And back to Greg Rogers. For anybody who's checked out our website, that's something that Greg Rogers built all by himself. So props to him on that one.
So we are 31 laps in of 50. We're getting close-ish, I would say, to that pit stop range where Gary Sack is now just entered, or actually was. SDK's wigging out, saying in, out, in, out. Looks like Greg manually disconnected. Greg is going to be a DNF.
Gary.
Or Gary, I'm sorry.
My assumption is that he probably had an issue. Oh, yeah, I think I see it right now. I think he hit the wall going into pit road.
Ooh. That's Matt's job to hit the barrel.
That's what I was thinking of.
What are you doing, Gary? You're
Oh, you know
stealing
what
that
else I
thunder.
see? He got speeding in the pits.
Ooh, double whammy on that.
Came in at the line. He was doing 50.
And if he
So-
hit the barrels, he might have also gotten an unsafe pit entrance as well.
Yeah, he hit the inside wall coming in, but I think that was after he got speeding in the pits and said, "Okay, my race is done."
Ah, okay, I see.
You hit the barrels, I think everything's pretty much irrelevant.
Yeah, pretty. I don't know. We'll have to check in with Matt on that.
Yeah,
Because
we need to.
he's made that an Olympic sport as of late.
We'll have to check with our barrel specialist.
I so badly. I gotta eventually at some point. I'm gonna make him a minions car, but instead of minions, they're gonna be barrels.
Barrels with eyes on them.
Yes. We'll get it to him eventually. Maybe we'll save that for next season of duels. Greg's starting to stretch that lead out here too. He was sitting at about a second and a half. He's now stretched it to 2.1 seconds.
Yeah, I think if Greg just stays calm, cool, collective, this is.
Well, and he's in a spot where, like, he's at the mercy of everybody else behind him when it comes to going to pit road. Because if they choose to short pit, he's going to have to come in that next lap, right? Otherwise, they're probably going to gain a lot of ground on him. But if he pits too early, then he's kind of caught back, in that pack with some of those slower cars, and it's going to be tough to get around him. So he's going to give time up on track there. So I personally don't know what the right move is there, but I'm sure as soon as Davey goes in, Greg's going to go in.
I'm thinking that I'm gonna split this directly in half on the tire strategy. I don't think to try to undercut it or do the over. I think if I'm in Greg's position, I know I've got the pace. Just go ahead and run my race and don't worry about what's going on behind me.
It's pretty much settled down throughout the track. I'm not seeing too many positions for battle.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Davey
spaced
just
out.
came
Yep.
in.
I imagine we're going to see Greg the next lap. And we did see Davey, abusing his tires early on when he was battling with the manual. So it's probably a better idea for him to short pit a little bit, minimize that loss of tire, and try and make it back up on a new set of tires.
Looks like Manuel, Park, and Morris all in as well.
Yep.
So I definitely think we will see Banks, Miles Shaper, and Rogers come in this next lap.
Drew Holman came in. Cody Riggs.
Yep.
Well, it kind of forces your hand on the next lap when you see the guys behind you start pitting.
Yeah, I think so. You don't want to give up the time on track. But with Greg's lead, he could stay out a lap, come in a lap, longer than these guys, come into pits the next lap, and probably still be out front. I don't think the fall off is too much.
There you see he is going in.
Yeah, I'm looking like it's about a second, maybe a second and a half a lap. Looking at what I'm seeing here, so with that 2-second lead, he could come in that following lap, which he did, and probably more than likely still be out front, in front of Davey Hendricks.
So Schaefer and Banks actually stayed out. If I was to be a betting man, I'm going to say Banks is going to be, pardon the pun, banking on Schaefer coming in this following lap. Banks will then go ahead and lead a lap, get that bonus point for the both of them, and then make their pit stops.
Yeah, and they're not going to win this race, right? Like, unless something drastic happens. Ooh, Greg came out behind Davey, so Davey had some extra pace that first lap on fresh tires. We'll see what Greg can do. But
And that's
back
difficult to do.
yeah. But back to your point, these guys, I think they've accepted that they're probably not going to win this race, so maximize the points, right?
1 point does matter.
Now, what's going to be interesting is to see how much does Greg pressure Davey here, and how much does Davey defend.
Oh, well, I think Greg's just got to be smooth and not abuse his tires this early on to the fresh tires. I do see him closing the gap. I think Davey will defend, but we also know how Davey races. If you get the line, he's not going to push the issue.
Exactly.
Y'all called the Schaefer and Banks down to
Yep.
a T on that one.
When you're in the position that those two guys are in, like, Tony said, they've pretty much accepted, look, we're not going to win this race. You're going to be looking to get bonus points any way you can. And by staying out that 1 lap later or 2 laps later, in Banks' case, you're going to have just a little bit fresher tires to make up that time that you might lose.
And in reality, with the distance between cars, it's very possible that you would come out back in the position you were in.
Greg just had a huge moment. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tony, but Greg just had a huge moment exiting the bus stop going into the carousel. He was super crossed up and just gave up a ton of time to Davey.
14
Well, and
to go. That's a second and a half. That's gonna be pretty hard to make up.
it almost looked like he just overshot the entry to the bus stop. Got on the brakes a little late, and carried more speed than he anticipated.
Well, and it's also very easy to lock up those brakes when you're hopping those curves, and if you don't hit them just right, it will upset that car something fierce. Now, Greg just got held up behind Ed Morris Sr., which is going to cost him even more time.
I mean, I think that was pretty minimal. Oh, we got some crashes. Dakota Orndorff, Cedric. But Ed Morris Sr. did everything he could to get out of the way. Yeah, it costed him a little bit of time, but he may have gained some of that time back on the drive off the corner because he was going a little slower and the car wasn't trying to step out on him.
Mm-hmm. And that's just a case of, that's just road racing. Sometimes you catch guys just at the wrong spot.
Yep, absolutely.
Definitely not saying anything malicious there.
No, and Ed did everything he could to get out of his way, but it was the S's. It's really hard to get out of the way there. Michael Newbra crashed.
Yeah, he's sitting inside a little deep on Cedric.
Yeah, Davey's pretty much walked away now. He's got about a 2.5 second lead, I'd say, and there's a lap car in between, so Greg's gonna have to hope that Davey makes a mistake.
We all know what can happen. We've seen Davey lose a major lead by the PR situation.
Main thing for Greg right now is to catch that 6 car in an opportune spot. Doesn't want to catch him going into the S's, doesn't want to catch him in the bus stop. He wants to catch him in the right spot where he can minimize the time getting around, the time loss getting around him.
Most opportune spot for him is going to be down into turn 1, which looks like the 6 is going to get way out of the way and let Greg on through.
Which is a very great move to see.
Yes, it is.
Not wanting to impede that race for the lead. Get out of the way, minimize the damage for both of you, and fall back in line. And it does look like Greg might be catching Davey a little bit. I just don't know if there's enough time to reel him in without Davey making a mistake. And for Greg, you know, he's got to push, but he doesn't want to push to the point where he makes a mistake and gain, you know, loses everything he did gain back. Edmore Sr. crashed, it looks like.
So just looking at lap times here, the last lap by, Greg was able to take a half second off of Davey. We'll see what it comes out at this lap as Brandon Banks is in the pits, and Davey will take back over that race lead.
Looks like he got about 3 or 4 tenths there this last lap.
So Greg is catching him, but is Greg pushing to catch him, or has Davey already upset those tires a little bit and Greg is just catching him naturally?
Oh, Greg is pushing. Greg is pushing. I'm seeing that car kind of wanting to step out, so he's pushing. And Davey's probably just running a conservative line, not putting himself in a bad spot. There's no need to yet. You know, save those tires while Greg's abusing them. And when he gets closer, then Davey starts pushing.
Yeah. It'd be very, very interesting to see how this plays out.
Lap 38 and 39, Rogers was faster than Hendricks, so...
He almost, yeah, Greg's really pushing. I see him, the car stepped out on him going into turn 10. See what kind of gap he's got at the line here. It was 1.7 last lap, and it is 1.7. So he didn't gain anything this last lap.
No, they were in thousandths of a second.
Davey maybe starting to work that, you know, push it a little bit harder. And Greg's been pushing for a few laps now, so the tires are going to come into play here.
This is where Greg's going. We couldn't have full course cautions, just one. I just need one.
And in reality, I don't think Greg can pass him, but if he can get close enough to Davey to start making Davey nervous, you know, that's probably his best chance. But closing that 1.7 second gap in 9 laps is going to be very difficult.
We've seen weirder things, though.
Oh, we definitely have.
Greg has, looking at SCK, taken about 2-3 tenths off just that back sector as he gets way loose coming off of the final turn there. Greg has given this car everything it's got.
Yeah, he gained 3.5 tenths this last lap, but he is definitely pushing.
14.2 to a 13.9. It's last 3 laps in a row. Hendricks has run a 14.2, just deadly consistent, and I think he is just running to a number, like you said, where he's kind of just maintaining that gap, conserving his stuff and protecting it.
Yep, and Greg's got to push, right? And he's going to be abusing those tires. So eventually it's going to come to a point where Greg's just not going to gain anymore. And, you know, just because he burned up his tires trying to get there.
Yeah, and it's not a fun position to be in that Greg is in right now, where you don't have a choice in the matter. It's, you know, your decision has been made for you.
Yep.
Well, you got Hendricks coming up on a lapped car of Cedric, so
that might help. That might help. It all depends on where Davey catches him at.
I think Davey's going to, if Davey catches him in the S's, it's going to help Greg. If Davey is able to get by him in turn 1, and Greg catches him in the S's, that's where it's really going to hurt.
But Greg did lose a 1/10 this last lap, so he's going to need a lot of help.
Yes, he is. And it looks like Davey's just going to follow Cedric up through the S's, nice and conservatively, get the good run coming out, and going to blow right on by.
Yep. kind of timed that where it wasn't gonna like he gave up a little bit of lap time, but he had the time to give instead of
Yes,
putting
he did.
himself in a bad spot.
Yeah, it's nothing better than leading on a road course where you have that gap and you can just kind of maintain it and play with it to suit you. Where, like you said, you lose the least amount of time.
Yep. Ledger's just gonna pull out of the way and let Greg go by,
Great to see that.
and we'll see what the lap. The interval is at this lap. I imagine it's going to show Greg gaining a little bit just because Davey was waiting on the lap car. But I imagine it won't be more than 2/10.
Got him
Might
down to
wanna
the
think
second.
again. Yep, might want to think again.
Okay. You gained half a
is
second
on,
there.
Greg is on that loud pedal. If Greg is going to be denied, it's not going to be from lack of effort from him. I'll tell you that much.
But I think this lap we'll see Davey start stepping it out again, just because I think Greg's tires are at that point where we're gonna see him lose time, just because that car is getting wider and wider each corner. It's stepping out on him. Vincent Vachon crashed.
Definitely getting spicy.
So we were at a 1.035 last lap. See if Greg gains anything here.
Just looking at the interval on SDK, the live interval, it looks like Greg is really driving that car in deep and gaining his time on corner entry, but he's losing a bunch on corner exit, and you see it there. He was about 2/10 slower that lap, and it's all wrapped up between the tires and driving in the corner so hard, desperately trying to catch Davey, but he's losing so much on corner exit.
Yeah, I really saw it off of turn 11 there, where he probably lost that 2/10 right there in turn 11. Coming off the corner, the car got a little sideways. He had to check it up a little bit.
It was between 10 and 11. Before 10 and 11, he was right at that 1 second, hadn't lost much, but he lost it all right there.
He's digging. I just don't know if the tires are there. I'm pretty confident that they're not. Got 5 laps to go, and
unfortunately, as a Greg Rogers fan, and again, no offense to Davey because I love Davey too, but I gotta agree with you.
yeah, I just seen Greg go into turn 10, and he ended up going wide. So definitely driving the entry a little harder, and probably paying the price on exit. Looks like he lost a little bit, like 4/100ths of a second, but I think he's needing Davey to make a mistake. That's the only way he gets this.
And I don't think Davey is gonna make a mistake. Davey's kind of in typewriter mode right now. Just hit your mark, hit your mark, hit your mark, hit your mark.
Well, and it looks like Davey's got a pretty clean track ahead of him. So you really can't rely on a lap car. He may catch a lap car, in a couple laps, but right now there's such an interval. Lap cars really shouldn't affect the outcome of this race.
So
But he just got a really good run through turn 10.
Yes, he did. He brought it back down to about a second. I think we actually might see it right at a second here coming to the line.
He entered a little wider and cut down in the corner and got a really good drive off.
He's also got a pretty decent run coming up through the S's as well. Just want to point this out though also, after Emmanuel beat down that poor fence coming out of the last turn there, He's rebounded back up to a 4th place finishing position so far, with only a few to go. So pretty good recovery by him.
Yeah, it looks like he's got about a 2 second interval in front and behind him. So pretty safe finishing right where he's at.
Gonna have Greg and Davey coming up to turn 10 again. We'll see if he gets another good run, and Davey's going to be seeing a lap car here shortly as well. Had a great run through there again, picked up another 10th just through turn 10.
I think he realized he was overdriving entry, and he backed it off a little bit, and I think we're seeing the rewards of that right now.
Unfortunately, I think it might be a little bit too late.
But Davey is coming up on that lap car.
Very true. And he doesn't have that huge cushion that he had. You know, he gives up 3/4 tenths here now. That could be extremely detrimental to him, with only about a second gap between the two of them. And Davey's going to catch him in a pretty bad spot here going into the bus stop.
Well, even the carousel, if he sits behind him and the carousel's another bad spot, you're going to lose time there. But we see Joey kind of go wide there to let Davey, but Davey overshoots, almost gets in the side of Joey Maines. That cost him some time, and that's now Greg's in attack mode.
Joey Maines is going to back off his corner entry big time.
Yep, doesn't want to upset Greg's entry into turn 10. And that interval now is down to about 3, 4, 5 car lengths, somewhere in there. Davey got a good run off of turn 11. Greg able to maintain.
Just under 0.6 of a second here. This ain't over, ladies and gentlemen.
It definitely is not. And there is another. Ooh, Greg almost looped it off of turn 1. That's gonna cost him some time.
I believe that was the nail in the coffin.
I think you're right, unless Davey catches this next lap car at a bad time. But yeah, Greg almost looping it off of turn 1 really hurt. Davey's stepped it out now. Probably interval back up to about a second, I would say. Just
1.2.
It off. Yeah,
1.2.
And Greg almost looped it in the bus stop. Greg's not done fighting, but
I'll tell you what, Greg is probably sitting in a pool of sweat right now. I've been there. That boy is giving it everything he's got. When you're in these situations, sim racing is a workout, ladies and gentlemen.
Greg got a really good run through turn 10 again.
Coming to the white flag.
Almost, so he got sideways coming off of turn 11, but I don't think it really hurt his lap time there. I don't think he gave up much. And Davey's got 2 lap cars in front of him. This could get really interesting if he catches them in a bad spot, which it looks like he may, right in that S's or bus stop area. This could be the opportunity Greg needs.
Again, somebody please tell me how road racing is boring.
Greg got a little loose off the carousel, gave up a little bit of time, but I think it's not going to hurt too bad. He got a really good entry to the bus stop. And these 2 cars are side by side. It looks like it's Cody Riggs and maybe Drew Hallman.
Yes, it is.
But so Davey didn't catch him at a bad time right now. Davey's got enough distance where I think Davey can just kind of cruise from here out. He can't let off, but if he just kind of maintains right now, he'll be fine. Greg's gonna push, but I just don't think he can overcome that gap. It's down, but it's still 5 car lengths, and without getting that, without Davey catching those 2 lap cars, just kind of took it out of his hands.
Davey Hendricks with the win from Watkins Glen. Greg Rogers, heck of a drive for second. Gave it everything he had. He did not leave anything in the tank. And we're having Brandon Schaefer coming across in 3rd, and Emmanuel bouncing back for 4th. And Brandon Park coming home in P5.
Well, I would say that was a battle from the start of the race to the end of the race. Greg Rogers and Davey Hendricks all at the end. Emmanuel with that 3 wide move to try to get up to the lead at the start of the race, and just a good race all around. And they're not done racing yet. We still got a few cars out there.
Yeah, watching this battle between Riggs and Holman right now.
And I don't think my hauler's going to be very, very happy with Drew taking that spot from Cody, with Cody being a playoff driver, but it is what it is. Davey Hendricks burning it down. Well-deserved win. Definitely not incident free though either. He got some battle scars on that car, but was able to bring it home in one piece and fend off a very hard charging Cody Riggs there. Or I'm sorry, Greg Rogers. Can you guys tell I'm tired?
Well, Davey did exactly what he needed to do. He maintained that gap, minimized mistakes, minimized putting himself in a bad spot trying to get around lap cars, and that's how we got that win. Just plain and simple. I would say him and Greg were probably very similar in pace, but just not putting himself in that bad spot to give up that time on track is what secured that win for him.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to get those top three in here right back after we give a shout out to these sponsors.
It's been the first thing that's really worked for me to put me to sleep.
Helps relax me when I'm trying to go to bed.
All just really spectacular.
It also helps you put yourself into a routine.
I feel like I'm drinking lemonade. You guys give it a shot.
It works! It works! It's good!
Just try it.
Well, Brandon Schaefer was able to lock in a 3, and after last week, he said he just wanted to survive. So I think he done pretty good surviving. Got him a couple bonus points, P3 finish. Schaefer, nothing to be ashamed of in this race.
No, I don't like road racing that much, man. But I had fun out there racing with Emmanuel, and then I was sitting there riding behind him, putting a little pressure on him, and he kind of screwed up a few times. I was like, all right, cool, I can get around him. But no, man, it was a solid night, good finish. If I had to run a road course, it would definitely would have been Watkins Glen. I actually like this one, but I do not. I'm not very good at road racing, so yeah.
For somebody that's not good at road racing though, it seems like you always run up front at them. So gotta call you on that one.
It's the B car, man. The B car makes me good at road courses.
It seems like you say that about the B car with everything though.
Yeah, I love the B car, man. Just the only thing really I run on a sim, so.
Well, man, it was looked like it was a lot of fun out there. A lot of battling back and forth. Some people putting other people in some bad spots there. What were your thoughts on that turn one lap one move there?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Emmanuel is the only one around us that started in first, and I knew he was going to get a good start, and I just kept it in second all the way down to the braking zone, and I think I braked a little early. I know I looked like Davey did as well, but I was not expecting him to send it in there 3 wide, and it said two on the outside of you. I'm like, oh Lord. I came over the mic and said, sorry, Greg. I wasn't expecting to go 3 wide through that corner. So yeah, that's why when he caught back up to me, I just let him have it. I wasn't gonna fight Greg because I know how much faster he is on road courses. So
Yeah, we watched that live, and I think it was a, it looked like some of you guys may have lifted a little bit just to not put yourself in a bad spot the first turn of a race and end up costing you a good finishing position. So definitely not a move that I would make, but I think y'all minimized the damage with it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Man, you know the routine. You've been up here just a couple times, I guess. So
Yeah. Shout out to Javit PC and Cutscene for sponsoring the league. Shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast. I appreciate it. Shout out to all the Drinking Bros guys and all the admins and Relentless, man. It's been a fun season so far.
well, we're gonna send you back down to your buddies, and we're gonna have some words with Rogers.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely a fan favorite. He didn't get the finish he wanted, but I think it's a finish he'll take. And we actually can hear Rogers now, man. You got that P2.
Yeah. Well, we were definitely hoping for the win there. Just kind of it was a really great race. Battle between Forget, Hendricks, and I. Schaefer was up there for a bit. It was a lot of really quality racing. So definitely disappointed that we didn't get the win. The P2 is great, playoffs and all that. But yeah, still chasing that first win. So definitely stings a bit. I think we lost the lead um, during the pit cycle. Davey came out about a second or two ahead of me. So that was confusing. I'm not sure where I lost the time there, but yeah, it was a great race. Really intense. It's kind of why we do it, right? So, um, not trying to beat myself up too much.
no, I wouldn't beat yourself up at all there, Greg. You gave it everything you had. We watched you battling the whole time, trying to get back up to Davy, and you did everything you could. Um, just you had to push harder on tires to close that gap, man. Part
Oh
of
yeah,
it, but hey, you put on a hell of a show out there. Congrats on that. Congrats on the P2.
yeah. No, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. There's definitely a rodeo out there for the last like 10 or so laps, just because they definitely burned the back tires. They were unhappy with me, and I'm surprised I didn't lose it at one point. But yeah, still really happy. Jordan got the P5 for the stage, and then he sped in pit road. So that sucks for him, but at least he was up there running really well. And I think Dak had a pretty good top 10 finish too. So good night overall for Shenandoah.
So I gotta ask you one question here. Um, one of the things that I noticed is you were struggling in turn 10. You kept pushing out wide, but then you must have figured it out part way through, and then you started gaining time there. What did you learn there, and how did you change your line to benefit you on exit?
Yeah, so I practiced a lot for this race, and I was able to get pretty good times. I was actually like running 7 or 8 tenths off my fastest pace, and the issue was that I was being too cautious with steering,
Okay.
and so I didn't change my brake points or my you know exit speed any more than I did before. But the real key was more steering input and getting down to that curb, because turn 10 is real fast. You can get a really great run during that, down that like short shoot. So yeah, I knew that I was faster than Davey on the latter half, like going after the S's. I had him through the bus stop. Carousel we were even, and then 10 and 11 I could catch him a bit, but through 1 and the S's he was so fast. So we were balanced, I would say.
Yeah, it really looked like you guys had equal speed, and him pitting that lap before is kind of what got him that win. You know, you were kind of a sitting duck at that point, leading the race. You know, giving those guys the opportunity to pit a lap before you and gain that time on fresh tires. So I don't think there was anything you could have done differently. It was just they were at the right time, and we kind of expected you to pit the lap after they did just because of the position you were in.
Yep, that's exactly what I did, I think.
Yep, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him duck in, actually. I was trying to split it half and half, but I guess that was naive because it looks like I came in a lap before I was planning on it. So they were kind of 2 steps ahead of me there.
Yeah, well, I think they had the opportunity there because they weren't going to close that gap without getting fresh tires before you. So they kind of forced. They had the short pit. They had the pit before you to close that gap up, and I think that's exactly what they did, and that's how Davey ended up out in front.
Yeah, no, it was, again, like the entire race. You know, when you first start with road, mistakes are like spinning, you know, hitting the wall, things like that. But the little mistakes that you make, just not getting on the throttle all the way out of like turn 11, or like just like slightly missing the line on in the S's, like, man, that just, you lose minutes of progress you've made. And so that the race is just probably the most intense I've been in with Davey. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, congrats to him on the win. That was phenomenal.
One thing I will say, I don't really have any questions, but I'll just tell you, one heck of a run. That win is coming for you, bud. You, like I said in the broadcast, if you weren't winning tonight, it was not going to be from lack of effort. You gave it absolutely everything you had, and you definitely were the show tonight.
I appreciate it. I am going to jump back up, give Davey some time, but thanks to all the viewers and thanks for broadcasting.
Well, he's one of the ones I don't have to move. He just moves himself around.
Yep.
And you know that also says what props to him. You know, like everybody said, he's a fan favorite out there. Does a lot for the league, so it's going to make that win a whole lot more sweeter, and that'll probably be the night the whole relentless league, as Bobby says, goes to the bar.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that whatsoever.
But one who's been here more than his fair share, he's locked in going to the round of 8. Ain't got to worry about Kansas. Mr. Davey Hendricks, you shown and starred and shown out again, man.
Yeah, through a miracle, I was able to come away with this one. I didn't think I was going to for quite a while.
Looked like you were sweating out there. You know, Greg had pace, but he had to push his tires to try and catch up to you. So looked like, you know, he was inching closer and closer, and then you had to start stepping it out a little bit. Tell us about that little mix up with Emmanuel.
I don't know. He decided he wanted to send it into S's. Um, I don't know. I need to go back and watch and see if I came down or he came up or whatever the case was. I just felt like for a guy that's been here for half the races, he's racing playoff drivers awfully hard. Um, and I mean, he definitely put me in the wall. It gave me about 20-ish seconds of damage. Um, so I really thought I was done after that. And then it was just a panic to try and get around him because I knew I was a little bit quicker than he was. But then he kept blocking, and I don't know. It was really early in the race to be pulling a bunch of the moves that he did. But I get it worked out in my favor regardless.
So here's my question for you. Does this win, especially with all the adversity that you had to overcome tonight, make up for Indy and getting that road course win this season? Because I know you wanted that Indy win pretty bad.
And I'll take any win at this point. Like we have like a super fast field, and between Schaefer, Banks, and Morris, there's not a lot of winning room for everybody else. So I'm thankful to get one when I can. Um, I mean, I don't know. The Glen I feel like is a track I like a lot, but I also feel like it's a road course a lot of us like because it is one of the ones we probably spend the most time on. Um, and it's a relatively easier road course to drive compared to like Indy or Sonoma or something. But I'm just
Well,
thankful for any win, honestly.
Well, I know you definitely put the time in this week. Saw you in a few of the sessions that we had up. So in the back of my head, you definitely were one of the favorites for tonight.
It was great when we put sessions up. The problem is all the sessions were like, at least the one I was in was like 83 degrees and it was nice and easy to
Yeah,
drive.
that
And we
was a
show up to this one
lightning.
and it's 120 and I'm like, ah, cool. All that practice was for naught.
Yeah, that last session we were in that was like 80 degrees. That was hammered down. Yeah, that she was quick, real quick.
All right, so Davey, what really won you the race, in my opinion, was your pit strategy.
Well, I
Getting
had to
in,
do something.
that's kind of what we expected. We expected you to pit and then Greg to follow the next lap. But you must have got onto pit road better than him or got off of pit road better than him because you were able to gain probably somewhere around 2.5 seconds because he had a 2 second lead on you when you went in, before the pit cycle, and you came out in front. So I assume that was your strategy, get to that point and pit early before he does. Was that what was going through your head?
Yeah, I like the plan before the Forget thing was like cut it in half, and make it a decently easy stage. But when all that went down and I noticed I wasn't really catching Greg like I needed to, um, I had to try something. And honestly, I didn't think the undercut was going to work because he was already a little bit better than me on longer runs. So giving him newer tires than me probably wasn't wise, but it was the only thing I could do. I didn't think an overcut was going to work. I didn't think there would be enough time, so undercutting just happened to work out in my favor this time.
Well, and I will say, I think you had some very smart moves on your part. Getting around lap cars. You didn't push the issue through the S's. You waited. You gave up a little bit of time on track to avoid, putting yourself in a bad situation. And I think that was also one of the things that really helped you out.
Yeah, that took some self convincing because I was already sweating, and now I'm having to like try and wait up for a lap card, because I was trying to be safe. That was the big deal. Even if Greg beat me, a solid top three was still going to be a great points night for this round. But I don't know. I tried to keep it as safe as I could, and then get on the gas and get around people. And most of the lap cars were pretty nice to let us by. I felt kind of bad for Joey Maines. I during one of my sweating moments, I probably ran him a lot higher in the carousel than I needed to, but I just got on the gas a little early for that one.
Yeah, we saw that as well. I think, like you said, it was one of those moments where Greg was close and you overshot the carousel a little bit. But no harm, no foul. You guys cleared it and made it through there. May have had a slight little bit of contact, but if you did it, it wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Well, man, you've been up here before. You know the routine. You got the shout outs.
Oh, got to thank my teammates. I know the Morses didn't have as good of a night as they probably wanted, but it was cool to, I love hanging out with those guys and racing with them. And we all finished with it with intact cars, which is really nice. All the sponsors that put this on, Jabbit PC for doing the Xfinity series, first of all. Then, Cutscene for the league, uh, Go Cruise Travel, Martin Sports, Exiled for doing the other series throughout the league. Um, all you guys up in the booth, all the admins that put this on, everyone watching at home, and I think that's it.
All right, man. Well, congratulations again on that win and locking yourself into the round of 8. And we'll see you at Kansas.
Yep, sounds good. Thank y'all.
Well, man, I'm gonna tell y'all what Kansas is going to be interesting. I mean, Davy's locked in. He's looking at Nashville and Chicago land right now. He's not too concerned with Kansas, but man, you've got 11 other drivers that are wanting that freebie into the round of 8. Which 4 Y'all think going home after next week?
Oh, I'm kind of waiting to see the points get updated. I think our admin's slacking a little bit, but man, I don't. It's tough out there. Judging by results from tonight, if I had to make a somewhat educated guess, let me pull this up real quick. See who's actually in a hole.
Well, we know Regan will be with his internet connections, plus the way he finished tonight, finishing 19th.
Yeah, he's definitely at a disadvantage. He's gonna really need a solid, very solid run. Like we're talking winning second place, winning a stage, whatever it be. Because he finished 19th tonight. Let's see. I think I'm gonna say the 4 that I think will get will not make the next round. And this is no offense to anybody. This is just people climbing out of a hole. Is going to be William Reagan, Michael Newbraw.
I was just going to say Michael Newbraw's got one heck of a hole to dig out of also.
Yep. Joey Maines is kind of, I mean, he finished 11th, but you know, that's he was already kind of below that cut line sitting in 9th, so that's not helping him at all. And I think I'm going to say Cedric. I think Cedric is, you know, he finished 12th tonight. Not in a good spot. He was kind of already on that cut line, so now he's going to have a really fast car at Kansas, and you know, hopefully for him, come out on top. But I think those are my 4 right now. But you know, anything can happen at Kansas.
And then it doesn't get much easier after that, because once you get out of Kansas, I think we've got the biggest curveball of the season with Nashville Fairgrounds. That is going to be a knockdown, drag out, you know, short track race where a lot of things are going to get shaken up.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see throughout the week, I think we're going to see a lot of practice there for these guys. That is a tough track. Not so much the track itself, but just the bumps. The bumps
I
at
was
that
just going to
place,
say,
they're pretty aggressive bumps, and if you hit it wrong, you'll wreck.
I'm just going to come out and say it. Turn 2 is evil. Absolutely evil.
It
There
is.
is a I don't know if it's a pothole or a mound or Mount Everest that's sitting out of turn 2, but that thing will bite you every single time.
Well, and not only that, you don't have the runoff room off of turn 2 because that back stretch is straight where the front stretch is curved. So it's a little more forgiving off of 4, but
Absolutely.
2 is definitely, you hit that bump wrong, it pushes you out to that wall, or you know, you wreck the car just spinning it out. So definitely going to be the wild card. But we got to get through Kansas first.
Yes, we do. Get through Kansas to then go to war at Nashville.
Tony and Bobby,
Well,
I appreciate y'all hanging out again. This is becoming a pretty enjoyable regular Monday night. So, with that said, I guess we're going to shut her down and pack it up and head to Kansas. Hopefully, the snow's gone from that way, and maybe Cody Riggs can forge through it and show up.
no,
Well,
y'all sending it towards me. I got to be up at 5 a.m. to go deal with it and work in the morning.
All right, on behalf of myself, SBRN, Relentless Racing, and Jabbit PC AWG, we will see y'all next week as we take it to Kansas, as 4 drivers are going home and their seasons will come to an end. Till then, get you some cutscenes, sleep well, and we will see y'all next week.
It's been the first thing that's really worked for me to put me to sleep.
Helps relax me when I'm trying to go to bed.
All just really spectacular. It also helps you put yourself into a routine.
I feel like I'm drinking lemonade. You guys give it a shot.
It works! It works! It's good!
Just try it.